Alrighty, gentlemen. So today we're going to have a brief discussion about one of the strangely controversial designs. If you go online, out there, it's a Leupold Mark4HD, 2.5 to 10 by 42. I was curious to see, what people think of this scope, and I got all sorts of polarizing opinions. There are the usual Leupold haters. Okay, I've been very critical of Leupold, but I'm far from Leupold hater. Actually, I like their newer products quite a bit. Then there were people who liked it, and there were people who didn't like it. What I found was probably most interesting is that most of the people who had truly significant disagreements about this scope have never really spent any time with it. They would go finger fuck it in a local gun store or something like that. Pardon my French. But for the most part, most of the people who have had these vociferous discussions about the scope have not really tested it. All I have, I've spent over a year with it, on and off, on a variety of different guns, but most of its time it's spent on this rather nicely accurate AR-15. The pictures, let's say here, might be on the other side. And this AR-15 is basically a 16-inch barrel, 556. It's built around this Trident barrel that a friend of mine sent me. Unfortunately, it's not in production right now. I hope they're going to bring it back. As far as consistent accuracy per weight, this is probably the best I've seen out of an AR-15 barrel. It shoots well with 77 grain ammo, and I thought it would be a very, very nice platform to test this Mark4HD. Given that I think it is at its best on weight-conscious platforms. What I mean by weight-conscious platform, I think it's a superb hunting scope for a relatively lightweight bolt gun. And I played with it a little bit on my Tika, but I don't remember if I took pictures. Most of the time it was basically used in an SPR-ish role on an accurate but lightweight AR-15, and that's what the picture you're seeing is. Looking at the specs, so what I set out to do many months ago was to look at several scopes with the 40mm objectives. Originally, I wanted to look at them as more of a medium power variables, which this Leupold absolutely is. And then, the category kind of expanded into several scopes that are more of a crossover design, so you'll see them in a table. They're all configured a little bit differently, go after a little bit of a different market, all have their strengths and weaknesses, and so does the Leupold. Overall, I like the scope, right? I didn't think I would like the scope. Usually I kind of pre-screen things. And I kind of look at different scopes on SHOT Show, look at specs, etc., and decide what I'm going to test, simply because my time is limited and there's only so much time I can spend. I usually try to get scopes for extended testing that I'm relatively predisposed to like. Because while shitting all over a design gets you a lot of clicks, that's really not what I'm here for. So a big part of what I do is to be able to make rifle scope recommendations. And to make rifle scope recommendations, I'd rather be able to tell you that a particular scope is good for certain things, rather than tell you that it's good for nothing. If I told it's good for nothing, it's very not real actionable. If I tell you, okay, this works in this application, this niche, on this type of gun, then I think it's more valuable to tell you about something that's good than to tell you about something that's bad. YouTube doesn't think so. At YouTube, if you go crap over a particular product, you get clicks. Well, such is life. So, the exemplary thing about this guy, so the Leupold makes them in second focal plane and front focal plane versions. I got the front focal plane one. I got two Mark4HDs, a 2.5 to 10 and 4.5 to 18, and I like them both. I like the 4.5 to 18 against the competition a touch more, but they're both very capable designs. This particular one is front focal plane with the illuminated TMR reticle. Illumination is done via this push button here. I know this looks like a parallax knob, it's not. There is no adjustable parallax in this design. The apparent field of view is right around 11 degrees, which is mid-pack, pretty good for Leupold. Leupold tends to be on the narrow side in terms of the field of view. And the elevation turret is Leupold's zero lock, zero stop turret. There is a little button here. If I press a button, I can dial, and the button stays kind of pulled in. If I go through a full revolution, it gets pulled in further. That basically becomes a tactile indicator for the number of revolutions I've dialed. And if I dial back, when I get to 0, it clicks and locks it in. I can dial on this one a little bit below 0. I can click this and dial half a milliradian below 0. Something I don't usually do, but I know it's... Eye relief is decently generous. It seems to be fairly consistent and in about 3.75 inch range, 3.7, 3.8. Somewhere there. Leupold, I think, lists 3.9 to 3.6. I didn't measure it that carefully. I just I made it a point that I can set it up in a way where I don't have to shift the scope around, do any major changes when I'm shooting from different shooting positions, from prone to standing to everything. I've tested it every which way possible. Adjustment range is perfectly reasonable. It's not an ALR scope. It doesn't need to be. This is not the configuration for that. As I said, the reticle is illuminated. The runs around $1,100-1,200 usually, something like that. Overall, just a very, very decent design. 30mm tube, I forgot to say that, about 12.5 inches long. What is good about it? The good thing about it, well, several. Optical quality is quite good. Not the best in the field, but not the worst either, on the better side of things. It is light, it's 21 ounces. In these lineup of scopes I've tested, it is the lightest. It's really simple to use. There is no magic, there is nothing to mess with. Diopter shift on this one was minimal, meaning, diopter eyepiece setting doesn't really change very much with magnification at all. I got the reticle, the eyepiece focused on about 5 power, and it was perfectly great across the range. The reticle leans to be on the bolder side. This is what it looks like. That means that I can use it comfortably across the whole magnification from 2.5 to 10. Conceptually, it really is very close to what I want out of a medium power variable, in that I'm not trying to push the magnification very high. But if you put this next to, let's say, a 1 to 10 by 24 scope, a typical low power variable, this will absolutely kick its ass above, I don't know, 5, 6x, right? So to me, this type of rifle scope is really intended to be at its best somewhere mid-pack, 6-ish thereabouts, good in low light, good across the board, while still being able to go low enough in magnification to be able to use it with clip-ons. Where it works decently well, but with a little bit of a quirk, as I found, which I thought was interesting. What does it not do well? Well, it does have good depth of field, but if you want to shoot a 25-yard target on 10 power, it'll start getting a little bit out of focus. You are running out of depth of field. And if you are trying to shoot something relatively far out, 800 and out, you'll start picking up some parallax and things like that, again, because I think it is focused somewhere in the 150-yard range, thereabouts. It is, without specialized equipment, it's hard for me to figure out where exactly it is focused, but it's somewhere out in that general range. This lack of sight focus is a double-edged sword. On one hand, if you just want to put on an accurate AR and go shoot, it's great. You get on target, adjust magnification to what looks good to you, dial if you need to, don't worry about anything else. However, if you're trying to stretch the last little bits of precision out of this thing, sight focus would have been helpful. And another thing that I found when I went and started doing some very, very careful testing on a couple of different thermal and night vision clip-ons that I had, what I found was that there was a slight focus mismatch because what this guy is doing and the eyepiece of the thermal. Like, I was looking at it, the image looked pretty good. I had it behind an armor sight operator thermal, and I'm looking at it going like, it looks quite good, but there's just a little bit, a slight apparent lack of sharpness. So I started messing with it, and I popped it in front of a scope that had sight focus. In this case, it was a Steiner H6XI 2-12x42, and I immediately found that with the Steiner, using just in sight focus, I could get a better image out of the thermal. So I started investigating, and I realized that, again, this is one of those situations where lack of sight focus makes things simpler, makes it sometimes quicker. But as far as medium power variable scopes go, this is not the precision-oriented one. This is basically designed to be decent in low light, fast on target, highly visible reticle, and go. Right? If you are looking for a medium power variable that's more precision oriented, honestly, having tested them side by side, I prefer the Steiner. It was a little bit better optically. Field of view is a little bit better. It has sight focus. The reticle is a little bit finer, so it's more precision oriented. But on lower powers, the Mark IV is just better. They're similar in size. Let me see if I can grab the Steiner. It's some. Steiner ended up sitting on my 6.5 Grendel and doing a pretty decent job of it here. And it has a thermal clip-on right in front of it. That's why. If you look at the size, these are very similar scopes, almost identical in size. But the Steiner 2-12x42 is a little bit more precision-oriented, and because of the sight focus, it also works a little bit better with clip-ons. Overall, both are competent designs, clearly aimed at a different type of use. What I found was that the Leupold is really in many ways a spiritual successor to this guy, which I'm sure Leupold is not going to appreciate me saying. This is the old venerable SWFA HD 3-9x42 rifle scope made in Japan. SWFA have been making it forever and a day. Simple front focal plane, nicely visible reticle, known to be super robust. We don't know how robust Mark 4 HD is, but I assume it's going to be perfectly reasonable. Except all of the things that we've been asking from the SWFA 3-9 in terms of features, they're kind of implemented here. Covered windage turret, locking and zero stopped elevation turret, illuminated reticle. And for the types of things these scopes are used to, and they're similar in weight, this is about 19 ounces, Leupold's about 21. For the types of things that these scopes are asked to do, is a very nice configuration. So where does it work best? As I said in the beginning, a weight-conscious application with a lightweight bolt gun or with a lightweight and accurate AR-15 carbine is where this 2.5-10x42 Mark 4 HD is at its best. If you're planning to do a lot of work with clip-ons, I'd probably guide you towards something with a sight focus, just easier to match the focus between the clip-on and the rifle scope. So I kind of hesitate to get in there, but the Leupold is a little bit of a back to basics scope, despite being fairly feature rich, because just the way you use it is a little bit different. If you don't need a tree reticle, if you prefer to dial for elevation and hold for wind, and you just out there to shoot, you could do much worse than Mark 4 HD. The biggest problem for it, honestly, is this Steiner H6XI that I've been mentioning, in that The Steiner is supposed to be $1,800 scope. Leupold, I think, is supposed to be about $1,200 scope. But I keep on seeing the Steiner in the $1,300 to $1,400 range. And if it is within a couple of $100 and your preferences lean a little bit more toward the precision side of things, the H6XI is pretty much better than Leupold in almost every way. H6XI is 3 ounces heavier, and the elevation turret is limited to single 12 milliradian and 11.5 milliradian rotation. But beyond that, for longer range endeavors, it is a better scope. And for sitting behind a clip on it is a better scope. But it is still more money, it is still a little bit lighter, and it is still less quick to use given the finer reticle and a more complicated tree reticle and side focus and all those things. The Mark4HD is a scope for people who appreciate simplicity of operation and view this as just a scope on a gun, not part of the overall system. If you are the system level type where you're getting the gun, the thermal, the laser, the scope, etc., yeah, I'd probably lean toward the Steiner. You shouldn't go out and shoot in varying light conditions, and you spend a good amount of time shooting unsupported or on lower magnifications. Of all of the medium power variable scopes that I've seen, the TMR reticle definitely is the easiest to use on low power with or without illumination. So that's that. There are new competitors coming into this space. I'll be talking about them here and there. Overall, I can give the Mark4HD my conditional recommendation. I enjoyed the scope, I enjoyed it well, but the competition is fairly severe, and for weight conscious applications, I think this is easily one of the better options out there. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. If there is anything I missed, you know where to find me, Dark Lord of Optics.